Welcome back to the channel, and if you are new, thank you for watching for the first time. So we are going to play a few holes. We'll get 3 or 4 in. Phone battery is getting a little low, so I will see what I can squeeze in here. But we are going to do another playing lesson, and these holes are going to be a little bit tougher. So the first 2 videos, there were some softballs in there, but we are going to get into some more difficult or stressful golf shots. Starting with this par 3. 181 yards, pin is going to be in the back of this green, and there's trouble everywhere. We've got bunker left, we've got water surrounding this green, so there's really not a good bailout. Water is obviously the worst case, bunker is going to be second worst, but that is going to be kind of the miss if we are going to miss here. We have wind pushing from left to right, so when it comes to aim points, I don't want to mess with long. I cannot go long here because, of course, there is water. With this pin being so far in the back, I've got a little bit of room on the short side or below this pin. So 181 yards in my head, I'm kind of thinking this is playing about 175. So when it's playing 175 and this wind is pushing it to the left, I'm pretty much going to aim this thing between the bunker and the pin, expecting that wind to push it a little bit. If the wind pushes it, awesome, has a chance to get close. If it doesn't, it's going to end up kind of right in between the pin and bunker on left fringe or left side of the green. If I pull it a little bit, it goes in the bunker, but I buy myself a lot of room with that water. Because that pin, or because of this water being so far on the right, going to come to the far right side of the tee box, just so I'm kind of firing across the water, not getting over onto this left side, firing more at the water. So going to tee up on the same side as the hazard and fire away from that thing, aiming just a little bit left of it, kind of in between bunker and pin there. Got a chance to be pretty good there. That is right at it, maybe just falling a tiny bit right, but that should not be in any trouble at all. That should be in a pretty good position. Overall, very happy with it, but even that one flirted with that back edge much more than I meant to. So 175 still may have been a little aggressive. Probably should have played it closer to 170, but I'm glad I took some distance off there. So this is a great example of when you have front pins, you usually want to be a little long. When you have pins closer to the back of the green, err on the side of short, just to risk getting yourself stuck in a little bit of trouble. If this would have gone another probably 5 or 6 paces, starts running down into this water, and I'm left with a dicey little chip shot. But got it into a pretty good spot here. Putt is definitely just breaking a little bit to the left. Not a whole lot to this one. Probably need to throw it out there. About 2.5 cups. Going to be a little bit slower. Usually practice strokes, if you've watched the other videos by now, you know I will take a couple practice strokes looking at the hole just to kind of get a feel for the speed. Going to be just a little low, but overall not a horrendous putt there, just a little bit on the low side. So stress-free par, I will take that on this hole every single time. Moving on to having a little bit of helping wind on the last hole is great, but I knew it was going to bite me because now we get a 460-yard par 4 dead into the wind, which is not as ideal. So we've got OB running down this entire left side, some scattered trees over here on the right side. So number one thing we have to avoid is out of bounds. That is kind of the big no-go here. So this is where I'm sure you're starting to get the hang of it. Again, if you've seen past videos, that worst of the trouble is on the left side. So I'm going to come to the far left of the tee box. I'm going to get basically as far left as I can. So if I'm aiming at the middle of the fairway, I'm still hitting away from the OB a little bit. If I get over to this right side and I aim at the middle of the fairway, even though I'm aiming at the middle, that line is basically heading directly out of bounds if I pull it at all. So again, not a guarantee that this is going to be not in the out of bounds, but just by kind of playing the angles game, it can help. Back into the wind, I don't really do anything special other than tee it down a little bit lower. And my aim point is going to be just kind of right center fairway here. If it overcuts, goes on the trees, not ideal, but that is going to be much better than out of bounds. So I'm going to favor the right side here. So that should be perfect. That was hit great. 170 yards left. Again, just a little bit back into this wind. This pin is going to be in the very front left pocket of the green. So if I miss, I don't want to be short left. I'm going to have a very short-sided little chip or pitch shot if I do that. Kind of middle of the green or just favoring a little bit right and past this hole is going to be kind of the aim point here. If I mishit it and pull it a little bit, it has a chance to get close on accident. But realistically, trying to hit this about 20 feet kind of long right of this pin, or at least pin high of it. Once you get deeper into this green, you have a little bit more of a ridge to contend with. so I would not be too unhappy if I can get this just pin high, just right of it, putting straight back up the hill. So I'm going to aim, again, just kind of middle of the green, just a few feet past this pin. Wind is maybe hurting it a little bit from the right as well, so that's another reason to shift that aim just a tad further over to that right side, playing it at about 180 yards with this wind. Maybe a little too conservative there. That is not going to come back. If I would have missed a little bit short left or over to the left side, you can see everything runs away. This is a much more difficult shot with no green to work with compared to anything over on the right side of the green closer to where I am. It is not exactly a great look for birdie, but it's about pin high, putting right up the slope. Obviously not a guarantee par, but not getting myself in trouble. I'd much rather have this putt than the chip or pitch shot that we just looked at. So ideally, when I was looking, I was kind of looking somewhere right in through here aim-wise, pushed it maybe 8 to 9 yards, missed it a little right at that landing point, but again, not going to hurt me at all. So not a hard putt right up the hill, definitely going to be a pretty good swinger though, so want to make sure that I aim pretty far out to the right to let this thing fall in. So that is definitely moving pretty hard. So I've got to be looking somewhere kind of up in this vicinity. As this thing starts losing speed, it is just going to dive left. So really anything inside 2-3 feet is a pretty good putt here. Definitely going to be very slow back up this hill. It looks high enough. Let's see if it has enough pace to get there. Yeah, not bad speed. So I will take that 10 out of 10 times. Again, another fairly stress-free par. Wasn't a great birdie look, but on a 460 par 4 back into the wind, I'm going to take that and run. Not a whole lot to this one right here. This is a 210-yard par 3. Not really a whole lot of trouble. There's a bunker short of the green. This pin is about as dead center on the green as it can get, just in the back portion. So going to come to the middle of the tee box, not really an advantage being left or right here. My only goal on this is to get over that front edge of the bunker, which is probably 185, 190 yards, but keep it underneath of this pin, just because as we've kind of gone over, back pins, we don't want to be long. You're usually very short-sided, very touchy-feely little shots there around the green. So I have a 5-iron. It's usually right around a 205 club, 210 if I absolutely nuke it. So this should be the perfect club, not going to get me in too much trouble. Wind is working a little bit out of the right, should draw just a little bit. So going to aim about 5-6 yards right of this pin and just hit this thing nice and full. So kind of came up and out of it, bladed it out to the right a little bit. Not a great one there, just kind of right fringe, pretty mediocre shot there, but not a whole lot of trouble. If you would have misclubbed and gone about a club long, this is where you would have ended up. Little bit of fringe and fairway to navigate, and this pin is not too far onto the green, so controlling that speed onto a green that's running away from you is not the easiest, so coming up short of this is definitely the move. Missed a little bit over to the right of the green here, but not a bad leave. There's another foot or two off. I'd probably be chipping this just because it's a decent amount of green to navigate, but comfortable putting this one, working downhill to start, back uphill, and it's going to be starting to carve left up this hill. But definitely need to hit this one with a little bit of pace to get it through this fringe and working up the hill here. Get legs. Oh. Again, I will take that putt all day long. Thought it was short, climbed a little bit more than expected. But from that distance with that putt, 210 yards, again, which should be a relatively stress-free par. Not too bad there. Final hole of this episode, it is a straightaway par 4 playing about 380, 390 yards. It is straight downwind. There is not a whole lot of trouble out in the fairway, so it is bombs away. It is driver, no question. There is out of bounds down the left side, and then no joke, there's probably 800 yards until you are out of bounds over on this right side. So right is absolutely the miss. There is no reason to mess with this left side. So I'm coming as far over to the left as I can possibly get, aiming basically right fairway line. The rough isn't too long here, so if I do miss it right into the rough, it's not super penalizing. If the rough was a little bit longer, I would aim kind of right center, but here there is no reason or no chance that this ball is going to the left. So I'm going to tee up on the left, fire as far away from this as I can get. It's also an added bonus. This pin is all the way in the back left corner. So usually if I can get it to the right side of the fairway with a back left pin, it's a little bit better of an angle in, but that is getting a little nitpicky. So if it doesn't quite end up like that, that's fine, but not messing with left at all here. Famous last words. That is going to be just fine, probably right rough, if anything, but again, that was not coming close to sniffing that left side. 107 yards left. This is a great look into that pin, being over here on the right side with that pin tucked in that back left corner. Downwind, 107, gonna try to play it just over 100 yards. Greens are a little bit softer, so this one should hit and stop, maybe even rip back a little bit. So I'm not going to be too afraid to fly this one there, because even if it is a little bit long, even though it's a back pin, it's still gonna come back for me. Going to aim just on the right side just to give myself a little more room to work with. Wind is pushing a little bit out of the right, so going to play this again right around 100 yards, about 5 yards right of that stick. That should be pretty darn good. Go a little. Oh, what a bad call. Still a little bit long. Did not need to go a little bit. Just on the very, very back edge of the fringe, hit and hanging back just a little bit. So a little deep, wind got it more than expected, but not a bad look. So not the best shot here, definitely a little longer than I would have liked. Fields are off today, apparently. I keep telling things that are long to go when they don't need to, but realistically was trying to get that to land a little bit more kind of in this vicinity, flew it probably 4 or 5 paces too far, got up into the fringe and didn't rip back like it would have on the green. So tricky little putt now. This is why you don't ever really want to be long to these back pins, because it's not far, but now I have to navigate a little bit of this fringe and then getting onto the green with enough pace to kind of roll out, but not be too hard. It makes it very difficult once you start adding in some longer grass into play here. Definitely a pretty good downslope once it gets onto the green, so even though the greens are slower, it's still going to be quick. Which again makes this even tougher. If it was uphill, you can just hammer it and you don't have too many worries, but you kind of just have to get it going with enough pace to get it to fall on and let it run down. Read wise, looks like it's going to break just a tiny bit to the right. Nothing too drastic here, just going to kind of hit this left edge, try to get it just through that fringe with enough pace to trickle on down there. Break a little. Yeah, not a great read there, but speed wasn't horrible. I will take it out of that fringe every time. So a bunch of relatively stress-free pars in this episode. Nothing too flashy, nothing too bad either. But overall, again, I hope these are helping you. I would love if you would subscribe to the page. I will keep these videos coming, and I'm more than happy to take recommendations for videos you would like to see on shots you would like played, or types of holes, or kind of playing short holes with longer clubs off the tee and shorter clubs off to the tee to kind of see scoring averages or whatever it may be. More than happy to kind of take these into consideration and make what you guys would like to watch. So thank you for watching. Hope these are helping.